Hello, everybody. Welcome to Big Blue Kickoff live on this Monday morning, afternoon. Brought to you by Cadillac, the official luxury vehicle of the New York Football Giants. I guess it's afternoon, right?
It is after 12 o'clock.
Seems
that qualifies.
Seems early.
Lunch hour.
201-939-4513. We'll be on the Giants therapy session bandwagon today, taking your calls and talking New York Giants football. Giants lose to the Buccaneers 30-7. You know, we go into these weeks sometimes and we say, the score wasn't very reminiscent of what the game was like. No, it's about right.
Mm-hmm.
About right. Giants got dominated from start to finish in this game. They get outgained in this game 450 yards to 245. And keep in mind, after the Buccaneers' first drive in the third quarter, they stopped trying to score.
Yes.
So they could have got the 40, they could have got the 500 yards. You name it, if they want to get there, they could have gotten there. That's how poorly the defense played in this game.
Well, John, I wrote down these numbers because defensively speaking, we've kind of given the defense most of the credit for trying to hold up this squad this year. But yesterday, they gave up season highs in points, 30, yards, 450, passing yards, 294, first downs, 24, and for the fifth time this year, they gave up at least 150 yards rushing. I qualified this as the ugliest game that the Giants have had this year.
Yeah, it's right up there with the Viking game and the Eagles game.
I think it was worse.
Yeah. I mean, I think where the season is, the impact of the game probably isn't as bad as those other two.
That's true.
But in terms of how the game played
Performance?
I mean, middle of the second quarter, you just felt like they didn't have a chance to win based on how the game was going, unfortunately.
Yes. And look, 23-0 at halftime. And, the shame of it is, and I know you folks are going to want to chime in, and I'm fine with that. But I just want to throw one thing out there because I think it's important to note this. I was just talking with Carl Banks this morning about it. And I said, he goes, "What do you got?" And I said, "Carl, it may not be the brightest and shiniest silver lining that you could find."
You found the silver lining?
I found somewhat of a silver lining, and he was on board with me on this.
All right, I'd like to hear this.
Even though the game was not competitive in the second half, and the Buccaneers certainly were not, playing as if the game was tight, Tommy DeVito was 18 of 26 for 158 yards. The last drive was garbage time, 56 yards. But the other two drives, while the game was still within clock management area, they had 65 and 68-yard drives. And to be frank, Tommy showed toughness. He didn't throw the ball in harm's way for an interception. He ran when he had to. He got up when, on the second to last drive, they knocked him out of the game because they knocked his wind out. He had to get removed for Drew Lock and then came right back in and then played the last drive. As I said last night, it was that whole "you didn't get me down" rave by Jake LaMotta. They did everything they could to suffocate the Giants offense and make this a miserable avalanche of a day. And Tommy DeVito showed his Jersey toughness, and I thought he put forth a very respectable second half in his own bubble of work. At least that's how I saw it. Carl agreed. And we think that was kind of a baby step for Tommy as he continues to try to build on the second half of this season and enhance his value to this team. That's probably the only silver lining, and it's not that shiny, that I found in this game.
Yeah, I just can't get too excited about it when you're down by that many points.
I didn't say shiny silver.
Let me just give you an example. I just looked up the stat. So Tommy DeVito had how many dropbacks in the first half? 8, 9?
Right.
He
was 3 for 5 for 31 yards. So he got sacked 3 times.
The Buccaneers blitzed on 7 of his 9 dropbacks in that first half. In the second half, they cut down their blitzes to just 16 to 34.
Right.
So they definitely called the dogs off a little bit in the second half.
They did.
So, yes, he was much better in the second half. In the first half, he looked like a guy that hadn't played in a regular season football game in a year.
Correct.
Everything looked like it was moving too fast for him. Blitzes were coming. He wasn't making, for example, on that first drive, just to give it a perfect example, they bring the cornerback blitz off the left side out of the slot.
Okay.
Right. This was on the first third down on the first drive.
Yep.
They bring the cornerback blitz off the left side. Evan Neal gets beat on an inside move by Kalijah Kancey. I thought Evan Neal actually, after that play, played pretty well too.
That was the second point that Carl and I
you.
made.
Now,
after the sack, Evan Neal did okay. That was another positive step for him.
That was a bad play to start the game.
Yes, it was.
But after that, I thought he actually
recovered.
did pretty well.
He recovered.
In pass pro, he passed off a couple stunts well over the course of the game.
Yep.
I thought he was okay.
Yep.
But Tommy's looking right at the snap. He sees the safety coming off the blitz, and it's the easy read off the blitz, right? Blitz comes off the left side, the guy left side of the defense, right side of the offense. On that side of the field, Wanda Robinson runs a little 6-yard stop route, right? Just start to. Now, he would have to throw it before he got into his break because the blitz was coming. But when a blitz comes off, you throw that little stop route into the side that the blitz is coming from. Easy 6-yard gain. Might have gotten a first down, might have been a yard short, whatever the case might be. But he held the ball instead, and that turned into a sack. And you had other times he held the ball a little bit too long in that first half, too.
He looked nervous. The ball out. Tight.
He looked like he was a little overwhelmed, right?
Yeah.
But in the second half, he came out. Ball was getting out quick. He was getting out really fast, and he did look better. I agree. But again, I don't know how much to take out of that because of what the score was. That's all I'll say about that.
Well, there was a back shoulder throw in that second half. Did you see it?
Yes.
I got excited.
Which Malik Neighbors almost managed to drop.
I know. But
it was a catch, by the way, because he got 2 feet down, he tucked it, and he turned.
It was.
But and then he had another drop in that second half, too.
Yes, he did.
He needs to get a little bit tighter on that sort of stuff.
But Tommy threw some nice balls in the second half.
Yeah.
The quality of some of the throws, whatever the defense was doing, he made some quality throws.
On Neighbors quick, I know, and guys, by the way, he was frustrated in the postgame. I get what he said. You shouldn't say that publicly. I know Brian Daboll talked about it today on the media call. He was frustrated. And by the way, it's not like the Giants weren't worried about this sort of thing. They only asked him about it 2 different times, once at the Combine and once when they had the meeting here. We saw that on Hard Knocks. So the Giants tried to get ahead of that problem. But look, he was frustrated after the game, and he said something he should have. I went and I looked at him and Tommy DeVito on every single first half drop back that they had. There was one opportunity to get him the ball in a shallow cross, and that was pretty much it. Everything else, because of blitzes, the route he ran on those blitzes, the coverage, there really wasn't another opportunity to get him the football based on how that first half went with the blitzes, the routes they were running, and how the defense was set up. So I don't know what to say about that. It's only 8-9 dropbacks. He got the ball in the second half when he had more of an opportunity.
You got to move the sticks to get more plays. And the Giants did not move the sticks and did not control the ball.
Yeah, in the first half, they were 0 for 4 on third downs, if I remember the number correctly, right? And the Bucs, I believe they converted every third down but 1 or 2. I have the first half stats.
They missed the third down, but they converted the fourth down on the first drive.
Yeah, so they were, wow, I'm surprised it wasn't better than this. I'm sorry. What do I have here? 4 of 7 on third downs in that first half. And you're right, they had the fourth down conversion on the other one. So
right.
The Giants cannot get off the field on third down. Same thing in the second half. Bucs scored on 5 of their first 6 drives, including a bunch of ones that had really, really long drives attached to them. I'll give you those drive lengths because they were, somewhat ridiculous. 70-yard touchdown drive, 87-yard touchdown drive, 81-yard touchdown drive, 78-yard touchdown drive. Can't have that. Can't give up touchdowns and scores on 5 of the team's first 6 possessions.
No, it was. That's why, for me, it was the ugliest game the Giants had played this year. And again, I understand in context, the season is already, way down the mountain. I totally understand that. But I looked at this and I said, you know what? There was at no time during the course of this game that I feel even the defense was competitive. And that's not what I've seen earlier. Even against Minnesota, they were competitive until Van Ginkel had that pick 6. You remember that game?
Yeah. Were you surprised in the second half? They got Neighbors going across the field on that little crossing route, and he was one-on-one with the defensive back with a lot of field on either side of him. Weren't you surprised he wasn't able to make that guy miss and turn it into a big play?
He juked him, and I think the defensive back, much like a soccer goaltender, knows that he's got to take a guess one way or the other because he's got no chance to really stop the ball any other way. I think the defensive back made the right guess on the juke.
Okay.
That's how I feel. I appreciate what you're saying, and I would that's what you want him to do.
Right, he's got so much space there. That's what
you want him to make that juke.
Right,
but I think the DB guessed right.
Sure, no, I could see that. Absolutely. I was just wondering what your opinion was on that one.
That's how I see it.
I know what Jermaine Illuminor said after the game. I found that. I went through the tape. I did not find a ton of lack of effort stuff, to be honest with you. And
No, I didn't
and
either.
Brian Dable said the same thing this morning. Obviously, nothing's going to be perfect. There's some things you can clean up, but there was nothing to me egregious where guys were not necessarily that I thought like not trying or giving up or anything like that. Watching it myself, but that was just me.
Actually, Drew Phillips had a play where he missed a tackle and then tracked the guy 30-something yards downfield.
That was the Bucky Irving play, right?
Yes, which I marked down as check plus.
Well,
Because-
it's not check plus because don't miss the first tackle.
No.
He could've been stopped for a game.
Let me finish. Check plus on the effort column.
Effort fine, yes.
Effort column was check plus.
Effort fine.
He missed the tackle and then absolutely busted his butt to outrun everybody to try to get down there. What an angle he took too, to get down there and actually to finish, make the play. Again, how many yards downfield? It was, yes, horrible missed tackle. That's an empty box. But effort, check plus. And that's, unfortunately, John, that's a lot of what you look at and you focus on after a game like this.
Yeah, and look, a couple other plays. We saw Baker Mayfield have a couple scrambles on third downs. On one play, they played man-to-man. They had Isaiah Simmons set up as a spy, and he just took a bad angle. And Baker Mayfield ran by him for a first down.
Yep.
We talked about some of the other trends that we've had over the course of the year. The big play differential was once again there. The Bucs had 6 plays with 25 or more yards. The Giants' longest play was 23 yards, just 2 plays of more than 20 yards. Hard to win football games when that's the case.
Bring up your turnover stat. Go ahead.
And the Giants did not win the turnover battle again. They forced 4 fumbles, only managed to pick up one of them, despite the fact that one was rolling around on the ground for about 3 seconds that nobody seemed to notice. And this is now the 11th straight game, a new franchise record, even going from one season to the next, where the Giants have not won the turnover battle.
No, I mean, so disaster with a capital D yesterday. There's no doubt about it. In every which way that you could imagine, the Giants just laid an egg. It was a terrible, terrible game. Again, I'm saying that Tommy DeVito took a small step forward, though, yesterday. I am going to go with that, and I am going to go with Evan Neal doing the same thing, too, because we had questioned after the first game, what was he going to do in game 2? And you know what? So far, I'm going to say he's if you give him a pass-fail college grade, he's passed both weeks.
The interior offensive line, I thought, had one of their worst performances in a few weeks.
It was rough. Yeah, it was rough. I mean, there's no other way to say it.
Yeah, John, and we've seen John Michael Schmitz have issues with power sometimes in the past, and it wasn't just the one Vita Vea play that everyone has seen. There were other plays in there too where you saw him have issues with some power getting him pushed back in the backfield.
Yeah. You know, look, they're going to play a Dallas team on short rest. Dallas just took care of Washington with a very crazy, dramatic finish yesterday. I don't know what to expect on Thursday, but I do know this. They put anything like that on the field down in Irving, Texas on Thursday.
On national TV, on Thanksgiving.
And it's going to be just as ugly as it was yesterday. Because even though the Buccaneers, I think, are a better roster than Dallas.
Well, I mean, they have clearly been a better team this year
right.
than the Cowboys.
Much better team.
That's for sure, yes.
But you know what? When you play that poorly, you're going to get hammered by another NFL team.
That's correct.
That's just the way it is.
By the way, tip your cap to the Panthers. They were
right.
Yeah, how about Bryce Young? He played a heck of a game against the Chiefs defense.
I know of what happened. I didn't see any of it, but I'm aware of what happened. But again, the magician, Mahomes, right? Magic Man Mahomes.
That's what he is. Whenever that guy needs to make a play, he makes a play, which is why he's Patrick Mahomes.
Titans played well too.
Yeah, Titans played well. That is true. And then winning the game also does not hurt the Giants' draft position, with the Titans getting another win under their belt. So you can root for all the other teams with bad records to win games. Cowboys winning their game yesterday helped in that regard as well. So if you want to take a look at that, you can take a look at that.
I don't bother looking at the other games in that regard.
201.
I just want to see what we got to do this weekend.
Absolutely. 201-939-4513. 201-939-4513. Our rapid reaction is up in the Giants Huddle podcast, guys. We're just going to have 2 episodes this week because of Thanksgiving. Actually, I guess it technically is 3, right? Because we'll have the rapid reaction after the game on Thursday. That'll go up on Friday. That'll carry us to the weekend. We have the rapid reaction up today with Madeline and Toomer. And then we are going to have our usual game preview going up on Wednesday. Still working on a player guest for that, and we will figure that out. And BBK, thank you, Pearson. That'll be Monday through Wednesday this week at 12:30 live every day. And then we're going to be off Thursday and Friday for Thanksgiving. Obviously, game day Thanksgiving. We'll have our live pregame show on WFN starting at 2:30. So if you need your fill that week, check that out. The Odyssey app, WFN.com's live stream, you can check that out. And then no BBK on Friday. So then we'll be back on Monday, and then we got 5 more games to go, and you're kind of in the home stretch of the season. So,
yeah, let's hope that the Giants take some of that road mentality. They've won their only 2 victories this year on the road. They're 2-3 on the road, believe it or not.
And the Cowboys still have not won a game at home this year.
Let's see what happens. Right?
I'm correct about that, right? I don't think Dallas has won a home game yet this year, right?
No, they have not.
They have not, right?
I don't think they have not. And the Giants got their 2 victories on the road this year, and I would hope after beating Cleveland and Seattle, at least maybe getting out of here and getting away from here gives them a little bit of a relief, and they can go out there and just try to play free and loose. And maybe make something happen. It'd be really nice to beat.
Hey, look, Dallas is an extremely beatable team. Before this week against the Commanders, they were playing bad football. Bad football. They trailed by at least 20 points in every single one of their home games this year, I think, except for one. They've been playing bad football.
Yes. And to beat an arch rival on national television would be a little bit of a piece of candy. I was going to use a brand name, but I'm not going to do that. It'll be a little piece of candy. Okay, see, a little piece of candy.
You're learning.
I'm trying.
All right, 201-939-4513. We'll take your calls the rest of the day. Let you guys make your points, guys. Look, we know it's bad. We're not going to argue with you. You can say what you want. We'll listen and we'll go from there. Let's go to Hugo in New Jersey. Hugo, what's going on?
Hey, guys. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear, Hugo. What's up?
Hi.
Hey. I guess I'm back from a top secret mission.
Yeah, I haven't heard from you in a while, Hugo.
Yeah. No, but I've been watching the team, and remember in the preseason I said I was going to take a wait-and-see approach. But frankly... I
think you've waited long enough, Hugo.
Yeah. The sample size is big enough at this point. And, I'm going to talk about a couple of big picture things. Here's the one thing that is really inexcusable. This is the 3rd year in a row that the Giants can't stop the run. If you recall, and Len in Columbia, Maryland joined me in expressing this concern, we said that there was no investment along the interior defensive line in the offseason, and that was going to bite the Giants. And then if you think about the spider web effect, I remember saying, Brian Burns, good player, not great player, an expensive trade, but could easily be neutralized if the Giants are constantly playing from behind and or teams are able to run the ball on us. And so
yeah, and by the way, you were right about that. Right now, it looks like you were correct about that, Hugo.
Yeah.
I would dispute Brian Burns' value. I think he's played really well this year. Honestly,
I think he's a good.
He's better than good. He's a very good player. He is not playing at an all-pro level. Nobody is, especially when everybody around you is as messed up as they are. Even Dexter Lawrence the last 2 weeks, as he's getting beaten up on every single play, it's kind of hard for him to be that lone shining star on the defensive front.
Yeah.
But Dexter Lawrence and Brian Burns are the 2 guys who I would say, man, I salute both of these guys for the kind of years that they have had individually, aside from the rest of them.
Yeah, I was just more agreeing with this point in that the pass rush isn't allowed to have the impact that it can have because you can't stop the run.
That part of it is true.
That was the point.
But I didn't want to let his Burns comment go.
Fair.
Okay, so look, it is what it is. So as we look forward to the next 6 games, I think we just have fundamentally a bad roster construction problem along the defensive line, and it's very hard to overcome that. So, I just look, it's gotten worse instead of better. So I don't know how you can let this issue just linger out there for 3 years and not address it. We saw it coming like a train coming down the tracks. We kept calling in and saying something's got to be done here.
Now, Hugo, I will say this. Prior to the trade deadline last year, they had a huge investment up front. They had Leonard Williams and Dexter Lawrence on the roster, and they still couldn't stop the run.
I agree. So I think, like you guys said, I think the edge play is a bit better this year, and that helps. But then you're kind of chasing your tail. You strengthen one position and weaken the other, and don't really get the full effect on overall performance. But look, the other major point I was going to make is that the offensive line. It's clear to me now, and without a doubt, the offensive line has improved this year. But I remember back in 2000 when you plugged those holes with free agency, and back then it was Lomas Brown, Dusty Ziegler, and Glenn Parker. Those are short-term benefits.
Mm-hmm.
And the disappointing thing here is that the investment in young players does not seem to be working out. So longer-term picture, they're going to have to reinvest in the offensive line. I mean, I don't think John Michael Schmidt is doing all that well. You know, Evan Neal's been, let's see what he does here, but he's been a disappointment. Izudu is nowhere to be found these days. They're going to have to reinvest in the offensive line as, you know, Van Roten is old, you know, Luminor is not that young. So you're going to have to do that whole cycle of reinvestment.
I think Luminor and Runyon are young enough to be okay for a while. Like if you want to re-sign Luminor for like a 3-year extension or whatever you want to do, that only take him into those early 30s. I think he'd be fine with that. You're right, Van Roten's a little bit older. You're correct about that. And right tackle is still unsettled. We don't know what Evan Neal's going to be. So
yeah,
that's fair.
So there's going to be another investment cycle and, you know, opportunity cost. If you invest in one area, you shortchange other areas.
Well, of course.
It seems like we're chasing our tails here. So those are my two big picture takeaways from the season so far.
Tigo, appreciate the call, man. And look, obviously the solution to that is to draft guys and have guys on rookie contracts that don't take up a lot of cap space, because then you don't have to spend financial resources on them.
I have not spoken to Tony Pauline like you have every week. But as I sit here today, if I were to list the priorities that I'd like to see the Giants get younger at and more productive at and more potential at, there's no doubt they need more help in the secondary.
I don't know if I want to draft another guy, though. I almost feel like I need a veteran corner. You want to put another young guy in the big defensive backfield? You know what I mean?
I understand, and that's why I say this with caution. I don't know what's there. Is there somebody ready-made? I don't know.
The best. Okay, well,
I know the kid from Colorado, right?
If he's a corner.
Well, people seem to be debating: is he a corner or a wide receiver?
What does he want to play?
I don't know.
I think that's kind of, and we don't know the answer to that yet.
All right.
I mean, that's the thing.
So you know, in all honesty, if he is a corner, and they grade him as a can't-miss corner, I have no trouble taking him in the first round for sure.
No, neither do I.
But
defensive tackles on that list,
and that's where my other spot is. I am most concerned about a nasty. I mean, I need a guy with a nasty disposition to be able to play next to Dexter, and to be able to get in there and really fight it out in the trenches.
And it is a good defensive tackle draft.
That's what I've heard.
It is. That is true.
Now, we knew last year it wasn't so much.
It hasn't been for 3 or 4 years, to be honest with you. Yes.
But this year is. So get me a defensive tackle, a real stud. And I think, you know, if there is a corner that has absolute positively like, okay, man, this guy's going to be really great, I would be looking there too. Those would be my 2 priorities. Now, because the problem is, John, you know this. If you want to go grab a guy in the secondary off the veteran free agent list, it's going to cost you a fortune.
I know.
So you can't afford that.
I mean, you could get a middle tier guy if you want. That's a stabilizer and not a guy that's a star.
Okay, potentially. But those are the areas that I'm addressing right now. As I sit here, I don't really want to talk about the draft, but I'm just going to go to Hugo's point. Yes, I agree with you.
Okay.
The Giants need help stopping the run. Get a tough, burly defensive tackle and add another guy to the secondary.
All right,
That's how I feel.
I'm going to play a game with you real quick with the draft. I don't want to talk about it, but I'm going to play a game with you anyway. All right?
Mm-hmm.
Dane Brugler put out his top 50 and these little captions on the reach guys. So
is that new?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm going to read you a caption, okay? And you tell me where you think this guy is ranked on his top 50 based on his caption.
Okay?
Player name, has missed multiple games this season due to shoulder and toe injuries, and the 2024 tape has had more volatility than you would want to see. But he is fluid and long and shows terrific awareness in the passing game. He's a corner.
Mm-hmm.
Player name, still projects as a number 1 cornerback in the NFL. Based on that description, where do you think that player would rank in his top 50?
Well, again, Dane doesn't get hyped up too much. So he's going to be a little more realistic than most and will drop guys lower than a lot of people will. 12?
2.
Really?
That's Will Johnson, cornerback from Michigan. I'm going to read
2.
you. I'm going to read you another caption.
2.
I'm going to read you another caption. You ready? With his explosive body twitch at 6'3", 250, player name, has the athletic traits to be a top 10 pick, but he is very much a work in progress as a pass rusher, especially when he doesn't win with his first step. It wouldn't be surprising if he goes higher because a team is willing to bet on his ceiling. Where do you think that player would rank in Dane Brugler's top 50?
Well,
just based on the caption.
And the caption says he would be a top 10. So you're telling me he's out of the top 10.
Not necessarily. Carter has the athletic traits to be a top 10 pick, period. But he is very much a work in progress as a pass rusher.
Okay, but that sentence says to me he's just outside the top 10.
I'm just reading you the caption.
Based on his caption, I'll say 13.
3.
3.
That's the draft class.
Jeez.
The 4th-ranked player in the draft class is a safety, Paul.
For real.
Malachi Starks out of Alabama.
And Dane, again, folks, let me make something very clear. Dane Brugler is really good. He does his homework, and he does not get sucked up in hype. I've said that so many times on this show. That's why I like him so much.
So Dane's the best.
You know,
him and Tony. That's why we have Tony on our
Tony
program.
Too.
Tony's awesome, and so is Dane.
What I love about Tony, though, Tony does get the rumor mill going pretty good, too.
Oh, he does.
He does.
Well,
and that's what we love him for.
Tony has the sources.
That's why we love him.
Yes.
And Tony will give you more of what the perception is sometimes than what the grade should be.
Yes. But
so
just to give you an idea of what the draft class is.
Boy.
So this is not
Guess
last
what?
year's class.
You want to buy a defensive back in free agency?
Yes.
You're going to pay.
See,
you're going to pay.
All right, so I'm going to give you just the idea. Because like the defensive tackle class is really good, right? Mason Graham, defensive tackle out of Michigan. He's your safe player, okay?
Mm-hmm.
He's Dane's 9th guy in his top 50.
Yeah.
One of the easiest prospects to like in the 2025 draft class, an explosive and relentless lineman. He naturally plays from a low position to consistently win leverage through contact and lean on his agility to chase the football. Graham is a menace in the most complimentary way possible. He's his 9th player.
Doesn't that sound like a great fit next to Dexter? Seriously, I'm not trying to be funny.
No, I'm not trying to be funny. 6'3", 320 pounds.
Absolutely perfect. That would be a great pairing with Dexter Lawrence.
Again, I just wanted to, because I know you haven't done any draft work yet.
I have not.
I have to do it because of draft season, so I try to stay on top of this. Absolutely.
Yes.
So I'm just trying to give you a feel for what you'll be walking into.
I've heard
as we start
things,
doing this.
but not specific like we've broken down.
All right, let's go to David in North Carolina. David, you're up next on Big Blue Kickoff Live.
Hello?
David.
Oh, boy. Hey, guys.
What's up?
How's it going? I haven't called in much. I just don't know how to put a positive spin on things. And
after that game, David, there isn't. David, after that game, there isn't a positive spin.
I was just going to say, you didn't pick a good week if you were looking for positives. It would have been better if you had called after they had beaten Seattle.
No, and I know, and that's why I'm calling, because I can't be positive anymore. And I know we don't want to look back in the past, but our good buddy Lynn in Maryland, one thing I want to echo what he brought up a number of years ago, I think, with like Lynn Paul Joseph is, if you're not going to sign guys that look like they're productive players, who are you going to sign to extensions? And why wait until they're in the last year of their deal, or they're getting ready to become free agents? Of course, it's going to be harder to sign them once they hit the open market, right?
Right.
So, guys like Love and McKinney, that when you got a team, I mean, it's obvious. Like, we can blame Brian Daboll all we want. When you see the output that was out there this Sunday, that's a talent issue. That's not. I mean, hey, we can pick out some things Daboll probably didn't do particularly well, and the coaching staff in general. But, I mean, in the NFL, when it's not a close game coming down into the fourth quarter, to me that screams talent. And as bad as Dave Gettleman was at, drafting according to everybody, we sure have left a lot of Dave Gettleman guys leave the building that are better than what we got on the team. And I know people keep referencing, this draft class, and Lynn kind of got hammered talking about Jason Pinnock, the other day. But he's right. There's not enough talent back there. And I love that Tyler Nubin is leading in tackles for safeties, but I don't want my safety leading in tackles. What is he doing in coverage? I mean, my safety having a ton of tackles just means my defense isn't very good.
No, I agree. You don't want your safety leading your team in tackles. I think that's fair.
You know what? Many a championship teams have had that, though. It's a scheme thing. For example, Jabril Wilson led the Giants in tackles when they won the Super Bowl. That happens.
It does.
That's a scheme thing.
But the bottom line, the run defense is not good enough. Like, we know that.
No question.
And look, guys,
but don't use that as a piece of evidence, though, because that's not a fair piece of evidence.
And David, I'm not sure if you're referencing Saquon. He's still going?
Yeah, I don't know if he can hear you.
All right, bring him back up. It's fine.
We're watching here on Sundays, and how is that possible when defenses aren't allowed to play defense like they were back in 1997? I just don't know how it is so hard to score, and Brian Daboll is supposed to be an offensive genius.
All right, David, appreciate the call, man. Good stuff. Look, in terms of the guys that have left the building, I know a lot of people, especially with what Saquon did last night. I mean, look, what Saquon is doing in Philadelphia is not particularly surprising. We knew going to that situation with them, and we said this at the time.
We did.
That was a good place for him to wind up for him. It was going to be a good fit, and he was going to be really productive there. And it's worked out exactly as he stayed healthy. It's worked out exactly like he would have thought it was, and a lot of people thought it was going to work out. That doesn't mean if he stayed here, that's what he would have done here. We had 6 years of Saquon Barkley here. Did it ever look like that?
Twice. 2 years. His rookie season, he was spectacular.
Still never looked like this, Paul.
I think he gave the Giants 2 superstar years. I thought he was that way as a rookie, and I thought in 2022 he was spectacular.
But he wasn't
He's doing even better now.
He wasn't on pace for setting the NFL record for rushing yards.
He's doing even better now.
But again, he would not be doing that if he was
There's no
here.
way.
And
there's no way.
To David's point, before they franchised him, they offered him an extension that was, depending on who you talk to, as good if not better than what the Eagles
tried to
offered
keep him.
They tried to keep him. It didn't work out. And you get to the point where it's an older running back. And if you look at the list of the Giants' problems this year, nowhere near the top is their running game on offense. That's not the problem here. It's not the problem. Now, does Saquon a headache player? Yes, no question. But the reason the Giants' record is what it is isn't because they have Tyrone Tracy instead of Saquon Barkley. That is near the bottom of the list as to why their record is what it is at this point. And in terms of McKinney, Julian Love, first of all, remember, he got here right when the two regimes kind of shifted. So that was a tough deal. And again, they offered him more than what he got in Seattle.
Correct.
His agent turned it down, and that whole thing got
And then when they came back, it was too late.
Correct. And then the McKinney thing, look, he just got offered a ton of money. And he didn't...
Huge money.
And you talk about trying to extend him early. Well, he didn't break out until the second half of his final year here.
Remember, he had that accident.
So you couldn't extend him early because he hadn't hit his peak yet, and he wasn't going to take a lower-end contract extension in that situation. So is it unfortunate? Yes. Is it perfect? No. But there were real reasons why those things went the way they did.
I'll give you a little bit of a chuckle, okay?
No, I'm always good there for a chuckle.
I'm on the phone this morning with Mom.
Is it like a funny chuckle or like a sad chuckle?
No, it's kind of a funny chuckle.
Okay.
So I'm on the phone with my mom coming down here this morning. And she goes to me, I don't watch the games a lot. She would come to the games with my dad, but she didn't really understand a lot of it. She just came to be there with him. And so she says to me, so I was watching the Philadelphia game last night with him.
Oh, no.
And I usually don't do that a lot when we're home. I would watch the games with Dad at the stadium, but really not watch the games on TV at home. And I watched, and I saw what Barkley was doing. And I said, yeah, Mom, where are you going with this? And she goes, well, he really is that good. And I said, yes, he is. She goes, but you know what? He ran a long play for a touchdown. And then Dad, he has the DVR, where you could back it up. And she goes, so then I said, why didn't he do that with the Giants more? And she goes, so you know what your father did? I said, let me guess. He showed you. She goes, yeah, he backed it up. And he showed me, and he was going in slow motion on the DVR, and every single one of the other guy's players was blocked.
That's a good try.
I told you you'd laugh.
And I know exactly the player you're talking about too. And he was not touched on one of those 70-yard runs. Not touched.
So she said, wow, he had a lot of space. And I said, Mom, that's exactly right. And so you know what your father said to me? He didn't have that kind of space when he was here. I said, that's because Dad listens to me. Okay? I knew that'd get you a chuckle. I had to go there, folks. I'm sorry.
To the point where Dottino's mom was calling him, asking him questions about the Giants. Jeez.
Well,
My mom does the same.
Oh, man.
anyway, but that's the facts. Better circumstances, and this is why the superstar looks like a superstar.
Yeah, and look, the running, and this we talked about this, you want to add the running back to the finished product, right? Like the Ravens, they were already a really good team. Yeah, Derrick Henry, va-boom. The
Great
Eagles were
signing.
already a good team, right? I know they finished really poorly last year, but they had Jalen Hurts, the really good line, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith. They have a lot of talent, Dallas Goedert. You add the superstar running back to that really good team, va-boom, you're off.
The one that surprises
McCaffrey to the 49ers when they're already good. Boom, you're off.
Josh Jacobs has done a really good job for the Packers.
The Packers were really good last year,
Now-
too. Now,
but-
they already had Aaron Jones, who was also a good player, by the way.
but now Willis has had a quarterback because they got the quarterback hurt. But that one's like, wow, he's added to them and made them better, and they didn't exactly have the most explosive all-around offense in the league. They did well. They were a playoff team, but they were not dynamic. But he's really helped them too.
Yeah, towards the end of the year, they got dynamic.
They got better.
But they weren't
They
for the
got
first
better.
half of the year.
But
look,
anyway,
you're right. I mean, look, even to an extent, I know it hasn't worked out from a team perspective, but how good of a year was Joe Mixon having with the Texans adding him to that team with that offense in the first half of the year with C.J. Stroud?
I think ultimately what it comes down to is
The running back is about the circumstance around them as much as
it
it's
is
about the running back
It
themselves.
is, and
we've always said
Barkley
that.
is just so extra special that when the Giants brought him in, they did a number of things to try to get the line better, and it never worked.
No, they
the
failed at that.
line never got to where it needed to be to maximize him. Really, that's what it comes down to.
Right, and you also didn't pair him with, he didn't have a Jordan Love. He didn't have a C.J. Stroud, even a Jalen Hurts, right, to an extent, or, go down the list.
The receiving core never lived up to its
That
billing.
too, and the receiving core also
Either.
didn't match up. All that stuff. Running backs are not one-man shows. Running backs need to fit into an offense where you can maximize their talent. Because once the defense can focus on that running back and just worry about stopping the running back, you can stop the running back. But when they have other things to worry about, that's when the running back can start going up. Because you know what? It'd be really easy to put 9 guys in the box to stop Saquon Barkley. There's A.J. Brown running one-on-one with a cornerback. You can't have that. You can't do that, and that's why it works.
I said, how many times on this show, you got to have more than one headache player on offense.
Yeah, right.
If your only headache player is your running back, you got a problem.
Yeah.
You got to have another one.
You got to make teams pick their poison. If there's just one poison, you can stop the poison. You got to have 2 poisons.
Boy, it would be awesome if Tyrone Tracy and Malik Neighbors develop into headache players. That would be so great, wouldn't it?
And by the way, and I will credit you, and for once, I was the one that jumped the gun a little bit earlier in the year. When we had this conversation, John, do you think Malik Neighbors is a headache player? I said, yeah, I think he is, Paul. And I thought the first 4 games he was headed that direction.
He was headed there.
But I thought he had gotten there. But then he got hurt, and since he's gotten back, it has not looked the same.
No. It's still only his rookie season.
No. This is not me giving up hope or anything.
No.
I was just saying in terms of where we are right now.
Yeah, it's a lot to ask.
He's super talented.
It's a lot to ask any rookie player to immediately come in, as Banks says, just add water, and then be a headache player, like I say. That's a lot to ask.
Hey, look, you look at this receiver class, Paul. We talked about how good it was last year. It's underachieved a little bit. Like Marvin Harrison Jr. has been good. He hasn't been great.
He's been good,
he's been
but not
fine.
great.
He's not great.
No.
Malik
His
Neighbors
numbers are not spectacular.
Malik Neighbors was the best of him until the injury, and he slowed down a little bit since then.
Right.
The best one has probably been Ladd McConkey with the Chargers. He might be the most productive rookie wide receiver.
Has Thomas's numbers been good?
Yes, he's been hurt the last few weeks, and then Trevor Lawrence got hurt, and Mac Jones. It's not the same.
Yeah.
But he was doing really well.
His numbers were up. His
And then
numbers were pretty
He had
good.
a chest injury, I think, and he
Yeah.
ended up having he had some issues. Ricky Pearsall got shot. Adonai Mitchell There's been basically the fourth receiver with the Colts for most of the year because Pittman, Pierce, and Downs have played well.
Right.
So,
Jalen Polk has not been good.
Jalen Polk has done nothing.
No.
Zero.
Disappeared.
Roman Wilson has been hurt the whole year for the Steelers.
Absolutely.
So Xavier Legette hasn't done a ton. Keon Coleman's been good.
Right.
He's been probably one of the better ones, but he hasn't been great. So we talk about all these receivers and how good they were and how now in the NFL you put a receiver right in, they can explode and be great. It hasn't worked out for this class so far, and we all loved the class last year.
Yeah, but that's that yellow flag that says, be careful what you expect as a rookie.
They never and look, and I say this, Paul.
Rookies are rookies for a reason.
You don't depend on rookies. You depend on your second, third, and fourth year players on their rookie deals. That's what you have to depend on. All right, let's go to Len in Columbia, Maryland. Len got called out. He pulled the Charlie, and he called in. Len, what's going on?
Hello, Len.
That was great, John. You stole my line.
Great minds think alike, I suppose.
Two mentions, and which ties me for Charlie for most.
And Len, by the way, I don't think I had a chance to reply to it, but I did get your text in the second quarter yesterday, and you were not incorrect about that.
Oh my goodness, John! If you're the owner and you see your best customers walking out at halftime.
Oh boy, yeah, Len.
And then
I understand your feelings.
And then of the ones that were left after that touchdown on the Bucs opening drive of the third quarter, even more walked out.
Oh, what? Listen, I'm proud of myself. I'm going to brag. I stayed through the Singletary touchdown, and then I thought, I'm gone. That was it. But I did see a score.
Congratulations.
I did see a score, a touchdown. Hey, listen, quick thing on that defensive tackle who you guys are enamored with. I haven't gotten into the draft at all. Graham. We're talking about Graham at Michigan, okay? Oh, we'd love to see him play next to Lawrence. Only if he fits a 3-4 defense. I mean, what? Give me some numbers on Graham. How tall is he? How much does he weigh?
6'3", 320.
Perfect. All right.
In stereo.
I don't know why you guys are laughing, because you got to look at, you're playing a 3-4 defense. The guy who plays on the defensive end has got to be 306'4", or don't touch him.
There are a couple other guys, Len. His teammate in Michigan, Kenneth Grant, is 6'3", 340. And if you want another big guy, there's a big defensive attacker from Kentucky, Deion Walker, who's 6'6", 345. So you do have, and those are all supposed to be like top 40 players. So there's going to be some really good big boys in this draft class.
Okay. Yeah, but John, those two last guys you mentioned, those are nose tackles. We already got one of those. But if you're between 300, if you're Leonard Williams type, and I'm not bragging on Leonard, but my point is, if you're going to play a 3-4 defense, those ends have to be at least 6'4", and they got to weigh at least 300 pounds.
Len, I hear you. You're just so rarely in the base defense anymore. Yeah. I mean, the Giants are in their base defense 6 to 10 times a game. Like, that's it. It's not a lot.
It's different these days, Len.
Let me quote my good friend Hugo, who gave me a shout-out at the beginning. Maybe we ought to go back to the base defense.
You know what?
Maybe we should be playing, but we can't. We don't have the players.
And by the way, Len, I'll give you a couple other guys. Oregon defensive tackle Derek Harmon, 6'5", 310. You got Tyleik Williams, and he's number 15 on Dane's list. Number 19, Tyleik Williams, defensive tackle, Ohio State, 6'2", 322. Walter Nolan, number 20, 6'3", 300 pounds. So there's a lot of guys.
Those were what we guide. That's what we liked about Ashawn Robinson. I'm not bragging on Ashawn, but you know what I mean. I mean, it's a size thing. You can't play a 200. We tried to stick Chapman in the middle. And, oh my God! Come on. I mean, that's just the way. We don't have those defensive ends to play. We got a bunch of nose tackles, and we got the best in the league, of course, with Dexter. But I mean, Davidson, Riley. I mean, they're nose tackles. They're not defensive ends. All right. Hey, look, the Bucs were simply the better team yesterday. A good team playing good against a bad team playing badly. I mean, you go room by room, and the Bucs have the better roster. I mean, we just got to get better players. But when you give up the first 30 points in a game, it's more. It's more than just the quality of your roster.
It's everything.
And the quality of the other roster.
Well, Len, when you're down 30-0 at the start of the third quarter, it's a team-wide, organizational-wide failure.
There you go.
And Coach already told us that this morning.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm going to go on the side of the injured offensive tackle, Illuminor, who says, I'm a vet. Guys quit.
He didn't use the word quit.
Hang on.
He didn't use the word quit, Len.
Huh?
He didn't use the word quit.
What do you say?
Where was I? I looked it up this morning, so I had it in front of me.
I don't mean to I'm not challenging you.
No. I know you're not. I want to make sure I have it right here, just so we have it right.
Yeah, and I'll be honest with you, Len. I was across the room listening to Dexter Lawrence while Illuminor was talking. I did not hear him.
We did not have it in the post game, so this is the quote that I saw from Jermaine Illuminor. Again, I've not seen the transcript, but this is the one that I saw online that I was working off of.
Right.
This was from our boy Busy Nano over at Giant Insider, who's usually good about being accurate on this stuff. So it was embarrassing. I wasn't even out there, but I was able to see different things and watch certain plays where I personally don't think everyone was giving 100%. That's not quit.
Okay.
It's different. Oh. It's not good, but it's different.
It is.
But we can agree on it's not good.
Yes, we can agree that it's not good.
Of course not.
Listen. I agree with him. I don't care if he's in a minority of people talking. That team was not engaged yesterday. There was disinterest yesterday.
Because after the game, we heard from Dexter Lawrence and Brian Burns, and they did not think that personally. Right. So it depends who you talk to.
I'm just telling you from a guy sitting in 133 at the stadium yesterday who's seen a lot of football games, maybe not as many. Well, I probably have seen more than you, but I'm not bragging about that. They were not in that game yesterday. They weren't from the start. Let me just end by saying, it was a tough week for everybody in that organization.
I agree with that, Lynn.
And I think there was carryover.
There certainly could have been.
Hey, thanks for taking my call, guys.
Thank you, Len.
As always, let's go Giants. God, it'd be great to break that streak against the Cowboys, especially on national TV.
Thank you, Len. Happy Thanksgiving, man. Always good to talk to you, buddy.
You know, the way the season has gone, John, the team's gumption, if you will, tends to be kind of thin to where when they get stopped on that fourth down play at the end of the first quarter, they're down 7-0, and they're at their own 37. And Coach Dable is trying to light that stick of dynamite and thinking, you know what? All right, so it's 4th and 1 at our own 37. Yeah, conventional wisdom says you probably don't go for this unless you're Sirianni, because he'll go for 4th down and 1 anywhere on the field. But conventional wisdom says maybe you don't go for that. But there you go, Coach Dable saying, hey, maybe I'm not feeling the fire that I need here. This is a chance for me to hand this team a stick of dynamite and to get them going. And Wan'Dale Robinson gets stopped on the end around to the left side where they just had no room at all.
Now, did you see what happened on that play?
I did not go back and look at that play this morning. I intend on doing it, but I did not.
Do you have a second for me to bring it up?
Well, I guess let me finish my talk.
Make your point.
Ahead.
Yes, make your point.
So
Sorry.
my point is,
I didn't mean to interrupt you. I apologize.
He tried to ignite them. He tried to light the fuse, and they failed miserably on that play. And of course, now what happens? The 7-0 game all of a sudden becomes a scoring drive that bridges the first and second quarters. And even though the Giants defense actually held, it's still a field goal and a 2-score game at 10-0. And I said on the television post-game show, to be frank, at that point, in retrospect and looking at the game, the Giants never hit the button after that score.
Right.
And it was 10-0.
I agree with you. So here's the play. I think it starts off in gun, but either way, DeVito sees the defense, see him walk to the behind center, Tyler Tracy's offset to the left, right?
Yes.
In the backfield. DeVito's going to hit his helmet. He's going to call an audible. Watch Levante David, number 54, as he calls the audible.
All right, oh boy.
He yells out. He's pointing where the play is going to. His defensive end on that side points left, points to their right, to the offense's left. And they run. And literally, as the snap is made and the ball is handed off to Wan'Dale Robinson, Levante David is sprinting to play the end around.
Yes.
So that is a veteran linebacker sniffing out that play.
He basically, for lack of a better term, spies Wan'Dale Robinson.
Oh, he beats him. He knew what the play was.
Beats him to the spot.
And I'm sure he's verbally telling his teammates that what play's coming. So
that's a veteran who has been doing this a long time at a high level.
It was just one thing I noticed this morning when I was going back to the game.
Read it perfectly. And that's another guy on the other side of the ball earning his paycheck, making a play because he gets paid too.
Yeah, but we're just not seeing enough Giants make plays like that
No.
over the course of the year, which is the
No.
problem.
No.
Let's go to Anthony in New Jersey. Anthony, what's going on?
Oh.
Hey, Anthony, what's up?
Hi.
Hey guys, I normally only call in the off season. I'm a big draft guy, but I've just last couple of weeks I just been needing to get something off my chest. And,
That's why we're here, Anthony. Go right ahead.
I went into the season like just dead certain that at the very least like Shane and Dable should get another year, but some red flags went up for me during Hard Knocks, and the way that this season has gone, I don't think Dayball's the head coach. I mean, this team has regressed. This team has regressed in 3 years, and Shane's a big part of that too. But I don't want to take up too much time, so I just want to focus on Dayball. The biggest regression for me is in the culture, and as a Giants fan, I mean, we have the template of what works, what Giants football is. We have 2 head coaches in our history that won 2 Super Bowls each, and they both, shared some key qualities, and they were no-nonsense generals and focused on the trenches. They focused on fundamentals, and Abel I don't see that from him. I mean, he's too loose. He's too emotional. He's too impulsive. And also, I got a legit question for you guys. So,
Yes, what's your question?
What makes Dayball a quarterback guru?
Well, I mean, I don't know if that's like a title that he gives out on his business card, but I think the reason people like talk about him like that is because of how Josh Allen was developed up in Buffalo.
Right.
Okay.
And also
I
he
don't
was at Alabama and did some good things for Nick Saban with the Tide.
Yeah, with Jalen Hurts over there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, in my opinion, like a lot of different things go into developing players. A lot of different factors.
Sure.
And to be considered a guru, because I bring up this point because a lot of people are saying, oh, Dayball needs a chance to pick his guy, right? And I think you need to have proven that you can do it more than once to be considered a guru. And if you guys haven't seen, go check out what went down when he was in Cleveland with Colt McCoy. I mean, it was pretty horrendous. The things that
That's
went
not
on
exactly first grade clay that you're looking to mold in Colt McCoy, with all due respect.
Well, and I would say, Anthony, you say it takes more than one guy to mold a quarterback. That was not the only year the Browns had trouble molding a quarterback over the course of the last 35
yeah,
years.
they've recycled a bunch of them.
I'm not saying Colt McCoy was. I'm just saying how his treatment of Colt McCoy, what Colt McCoy said, and even some of Colt McCoy's teammates. I mean, like I said, go check it out if you're interested. It's pretty interesting. But there's a lot of people involved in there's a lot of people potentially that could have been the reason that Josh Allen ended up being Josh Allen, including Josh Allen himself. I think it's kind of odd that Dable, gets that credit. And I'm not trying to say that Dable shouldn't get any credit either. I'm just saying to call him a quarterback guru based on Josh Allen, I mean, I think he's got to prove it more than that. But ultimately, again, like my biggest concern is I don't see a true Giants general type in the head coach position. I mean, look at what's gone on, not just this year, but in previous years. There's a lot of things that Bill Parcells and Tom Coughlin would not have stood for that have happened with this team. Thanks for...
Thank you, Anthony. Appreciate the
it.
call.
It is a different era and a different type of athlete. And I've talked to Bill on occasion and said to him, you could not coach today. And he's like, you're darn straight I couldn't. It's a different time. Even Tom Coughlin, who coached most recently, much more recently than Coach Parcells, would tell you that the game is so different today, not just rules-wise, but environment-wise. Let me say this, John. I want to be careful. One of the things that he mentioned, and maybe it just got lost in the shuffle there, he was saying about, the culture. It's funny. People want to talk about that. Sometimes you can't have both. I have been around Giants playoff teams that had selfish players on the team that did not really get along great with their teammates, were not all in, and were not overly supportive of the locker room. That's not a great culture. But somehow they won games, and they made the playoffs. I won't name names, but that has happened, and I've seen it firsthand. The culture was not good, but because they won games, everybody was happy, and nobody talked about the culture.
Yeah, does culture create winning, or does winning create culture? That's
my
question,
point.
Right? Right.
So I think we have to be very careful when we talk about that word. That's why I don't like that word. I hate that word when people say, change the culture. No, I really detest that word because it does not automatically equate to winning. It's not the same. So I would say this locker room, in terms of culture, if you want to really play that game, is a heck of a lot better than some of the playoff teams I've seen. And they're losing. So please try to refrain from going there because I can tell you firsthand it doesn't work.
Any final thoughts here, Paul, on the game? Do we have any more calls, Pearson? I think we're good. We only got 3 minutes to go. I don't want to give somebody short shrift on their time on the air here. So
yeah,
we're gonna have to turn the page pretty quickly here, folks. So we're gonna start turning the page a little bit to Dallas tomorrow. It'll be Sytak and I the next 2 days. Paul's off to Dallas on Wednesday with the team, so Matt and I will hold it down. Are you gonna Dallas, Pearson? You'll be here as well. Do you know what we're doing for Thanksgiving here for food? Are they bringing in Thanksgiving dinner? What are they doing?
Yeah, we're doing a Thanksgiving dinner for the post-game crew.
All right, very good.
How about that?
So Casillas and I will be here doing radio pre and post as well. I'm not making JC and I trek into the city through like Thanksgiving Day parade traffic, which I'm sure it'll be an absolute nightmare on Thursday. So I'm not doing that. We'll do it from here, and we'll have your coverage on WFAN. It'll start at 2:30, and we'll go 2 hours after the game as well. So that's what we'll have on Thursday. And Paul, look. You just have to come out. You got to play better than this. Like, one of our mantras all year is that the Giants have played tight and close in a lot of these games, and they just come up late at the end or made mistakes over the course of the games.
Yeah.
The turnovers, the explosive plays. You've had now 3 games this year, which is more than you want, where they've been blown out of the water a little bit.
And to the fans' emotions, all 3 of those games were home games,
Really
which makes it incredibly difficult for them to digest.
I didn't even think about it that way. That's a good point. They have not won a home game yet this year, just like Dallas. Try not to be the Dallas Cowboys get right game, right? On Thursday.
Please, especially against that team.
And we'll see about Tommy DeVito. Brian Dable seemed optimistic that he'd be able to play on Thursday. Now, he did come back in and finish the game, so that's good. But
he's tough.
He got the wind knocked out of him. He got blasted in the back of the end zone, kind of in the ribs in the midsection on that play. And then he hit his head pretty hard on the ground on a scramble a couple plays later. I was actually surprised he passed concussion protocol. Thank goodness he did. Because his head really slammed on the
And we saw him in the
post
post-game press conference up at the microphone. He was fine.
Oh, they brought him into the tent and
And I was very grateful for that because he did take some whacks.
He did. So we'll see. The Giants have a short week. They'll have a walkthrough today and tomorrow. They'll travel on Wednesday. And then you're back at it. It'll be the last non-Sunday afternoon game of the year as of the schedule right now. We don't know when the last game is going to be against Philly, and that Colts game I think is still up in the air, but I'd be surprised at this point if they make that a standalone game on a Saturday. I just think given how the two teams have done this year, I'd find that surprising. So this will probably be our last non-Sunday 1 o'clock game of the year. So unless the Eagles really need that game, the last game of the year, they could always flex that if they need it for, they could be competing with the Lions for the best record in the NFC.
That is possible. If the Colts game gets moved to Saturday the 28th, December 28th is the day of the greatest game ever played.
And I think that's why they left that up in the air so they can make it out to the day on the anniversary. But
that would be kind of nice, but with the Colts struggling and the Giants really struggling, I'm not sure that the NFL wants to put that game on Saturday. They might decide, just let it play out with the rest of the games on Sunday.
And no draft season this week either, by the way. It's Thanksgiving. I have to give, we don't want to cram too much content down your throats over just a 3-day period. So we'll be back next week. We're going to have Trevor Sikkema from Pro Football Focus. Trevor's awesome. We have him on our draft content a lot. PFF has their top 250 out and their position rankings out. We'll talk about that with Trevor. And we'll be heading into rivalry weekend that weekend as well. That's going to be the week heading into Michigan, Ohio State, and all the rivalry games around the country. So that'll be a lot of fun. Paul, good stuff, my friend.
All right, John.
For Paul Dottino, I'm John Schmeelk. Thanks for joining us on Big Blue Kickoff Live. We'll see you tomorrow at 12:30 as we continue to talk about the Giants. We'll see you then.